Tonight we are working on a handle for our hewing axe. Now this is in the style of like a main mast hewing axe. It's not, it's not huge, but it's perfect for what we're going to be doing. These hewing axes, they come in all kinds of sizes. The big thing that defines them, they're usually pretty wide. It's only beveled on one side, and it's usually flat all the way down to the pole from the cutting edge on the back side. So being left-handed, I'm going to be putting this on a handle to suit my uses. So don't be copying me if, But this is the one we showed probably a little over a year ago that I picked up in, I want to say up in Maine last time I was up there. And so yeah, that's her. Now if you're going to buy one of these used, pay attention to the back side and look for pitting and stuff like that. If you have really deep pits on there, as you sharpen this thing over the years, those pits are going to give you a bit of a serrated edge. I'll have just a tiny bit of that on this one, but it's not going to be enough to hurt anything. I have a hatchet here of the same style where it's flat on the back side all the way down to the pole. It's only beveled on one side, but the chips are so deep that it creates me a massively, let's see if I can give you a close-up. Now, let's see here. Get it to focus on that. So you can see where that whole edge is missing right there, and that is because it's very pitted. Move that, there we go. You see how pitted that is, and the problem with that, you find that a lot when somebody left these things like this in an old barn floor in the dirt and stuff like that, and it just destroys them. But believe it or not, this thing still works amazingly well for roughing things out. We've roughed quite a bit of this out with this little hatchet here, and it cuts just fine. It's certainly not ideal, but if you could pick one of these things up for $5–10, don't just discount it because that edge looks like that. You should still be able to get it sharp enough to use it, and it'll at least get you going until you can afford something better or until you find something better. So when we go to the woods, when we're going to start hewing our beams for the next timber project, and they're not going to be huge, it's not a huge project, but it should be a fun summertime project. We're going to be using this. We're going to be using this guy, which is a single bevel, but it does not go flat all the way down through the pole. The bit's actually centered on here. It's just a single bevel on it. Now we're probably going to put a different handle on this because a lot of times when you find these, you go to the old antique stores, you can find a lot of them up around Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, where this style of axe was primarily used in this country, and there's a lot more of them up there. But a lot of times the antiques dealers, they'll put some ratty ass old handle they found, or some old handle they got in an overstock from an old hardware store or something like that. They'll just throw them on there. There'll be no wedge in them, none of that. So a lot of times they're not even the proper handle for these. Case in point, the handle that was on this hewing axe is right here. It's just a straight up felling axe handle, and it's definitely not, it's not the proper handle for this. So you look at this handle's straight. There's no curve to it, nothing like that, and it's long. Plus, it didn't fit in here worth a damn, and they didn't even, it was sad the state this thing was in. They didn't have the handle all the way up through it, and somebody had pounded the top of this thing over to the point where it mushroomed these ears off right down, and it was just a mess. It was some creative grinding to get it halfway repaired. But, so the handle we're making for it, as you can see, looks like just a garbage piece of wood, but I actually picked this wood on purpose, this piece with a natural curve in it, because that will fit the purposes of the hewing axe. So when you're bringing it down, you can have that can have your hands out of the way, let's put it that way. So it'll become more apparent when we start to use it, and I know I'm yakking away. So anyway, we'll be hewing with the big one. We'll be notching and marking out with this one once we put a new handle on it, and this one I'll probably just go to the hardware store and get a new handle for it. We'll be doing quite a bit of work with this guy here. This is a double bevel. There's beveled on both sides. The bit's centered on the pole. So this is a sweetheart right here. This is a beautiful. This one's really nice. That's in good shape. And then of course, the classic hatchet. So we have that. And of course we'll be using one of our hand-forged, handmade draw knives for a lot of it. I broke down, guys. I took my mistake one, the one where I ground a little too much. I threw some handles on it fast, sharpened it up nice, and I tell you what, it works beautiful, as you will see. So anyway, stay tuned. Enough of that 20-minute rant at the beginning, and I'll catch you on the other side. There's no big mystery on making axe handles. You pick a design that you're happy with, that's comfortable for you. You get a width on there that you can grip easily without killing your hands, especially if it's something like this where you're going to be using it possibly for hours on end. So all I do is I get a line half-assed down the center, and I'll work my edges. I'll just bevel my edges down to it. I'll start on one end. I usually start on one end, kind of get a shape defined that I want, and then I'll go through, work it down close, not quite to the line, but close, and then I'll cut that middle out. Now, a nice thing about doing this with a draw knife or any kind of hand tools is you're usually following the growth rings, and it works out a little bit nicer. When you just get that edge, you don't need, you don't want a rounded axe handle. It doesn't do you any good. It'll just slip around in your fingers. It'll be hard to index it. And keep testing it as you go. Just kind of work on rounding those corners off and blend it into where you left off before. Now I see a lot of people try to take big bites with their draw knives, and that just, there's no reason for it, and it actually makes the experience not as enjoyable. If you're trying to hog off huge pieces and you're jamming that knife up, and especially in a shaving horse, I don't care how good you made your shaving horse, your piece will slip towards you a little bit. But if you get proficient in just kind of shaving it down, makes it go a lot easier. And then what I'll do is I'll take my draw knife, I'll use it like a scraper, and get rid of any ridges on there. Now if you see you're starting to dig in like I am right here, you just kind of work it back the other way a little bit. Of course that's doing it also, but we'll be sanding this anyway. But the smoother I can make this right now, easier my finish work will be. So we kind of have a profile going there. I know that's hard to see, but we can flip it over. Another thing, if you put a piece of leather on your shaving horse to help hold it, don't make it black. It gets all over your work. Now as you go through, you see I have this marker line on here. I can kind of start just trimming that down where I want it. Now I did cheat a little bit and rough part of this out on the bandsaw because it was a lot of material to remove. I did quite a bit of it with the hatchets, but just a lot of material. Another thing you're really looking for is you don't want any rounded, you don't want any sharp edges on here. Because remember, like I said, you could be using this thing for hours at a stretch. You don't want anything biting into your hands. It's one of those deals if you're looking to get into using hand tools more. Dull hand tools that aren't comfortable to use can destroy the whole experience for you. And if that happens, you're not going to want to use them. And if you're using the draw knife beveled down like this is right now, try not to tip it up. Let it ride flat on there as best you can, because if you tip it down or if you tip it up, your handles, if you index them towards you, you're going to bite real deep into the material you're working on. And again, that makes it can make it difficult. So I've been doing a lot of shaving. Holy cow, I think it's gonna go, folks. I do believe. An inch and a half more. Hard with this guy is it's with that curved handle, seems to be a little harder to grip and get a good for doing this anyway. Oh, we're so close. Yet so miserably far. And she's right there too. Tell you, ash is such a hard, it's a nice hard wood. Oh, I gotta shave a little more off, son of a bitch. So close. Well, it's already almost 2 o'clock in the morning, but there's our hewing axe handle. Of course, it's offset, so when we go to hew on the logs, our hands are out of the way. What a terrible camera angle this is, but it is extremely late. I am very tired, so I think I'm going to call this one a night, and we'll revisit it on the next video, but I won't dedicate a video just to doing that. We got to get some linseed oil on it, all that good stuff, but I don't know, makes me happy. I like it, so I'll see you guys on the next one.